Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your models will practically build themselves.
Aware of my World of Tanks collection. And when you get up to tier 10, which is the top tier, they have a tank destroyer right after the T95 with a 155 millimeter gun that is really pretty cool. I know because on my old account, I actually had one. And this is it, the T110E3. And we'll go over just a little bit of the history of it here, but this is a really fun tank to play with. It's got a lot of power, and I've always wanted to have a kit, but nobody's going to make a kit of anything like this, right? Well, stick with us and see.
Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Welcome to today's show. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. I can't seem to extricate him, so bear with me. My voice is a little bit shot. But welcome to the Kit Hoarder's Stash, and today I've got a real fun one here. This is by SSMODEL. It is a 3D printed tank of a T110 Echo 3, which is from the game World of Tanks, and it's a 3D printed tank. So we're going to open this up and take a look at it. This is going to set you back, you know, around the $80 range. You think about TACOM and Ryefield, some of these other kits, Dragon, and the cost of those kits. So this is, you know, right in line with all of that. Now you'll have to excuse me, but my puppy, as soon as she found out that I had a box to play with, she started playing with it. So a few things are chewed a little bit. Here's the instructions. Pretty simple. 1 is the turret, 2 is the hull, 3 is the road wheels and the tracks, 4 you've got the commander's cupola. On 4 and 5 here you got part of the engine deck. 6 you've got the barrel for the gun, and on 7 there's a little few details here, and that's it. Not a ton of parts in this kit. Let's open it up and take a look at it. So here's the turret. And it looks really good. I like it. It's got Ziploc bags. Here is the bottom of the turret. I'm going to go ahead and clear some of this sprue away here so you can see better the detail. Here's the engine deck, the raised part of the engine deck. This is the part the puppy did get damaged. Here is my suspension, and this was in perfect shape when I got it. It was well packed. Like I said, the healer got it, so, but the hull looks good. The details on it look good. couple of pieces have broken off. That's the problem with this 3D printed resin, is it is very brittle. So bump it, drop it, whatever, you know, puppy gets to it, and a few things are going to break, but it'll be okay. We can fix that. Here's the rest of the fenders. That has the tow cable, I want to call it a clevis, it's the very end of the tow cable, molded in. And then one last bag. This shows you the plates, the different components here that should be in this kit, and they are. Here's the 155 gun barrel, and I'll just take it out of the container that it was in, and it looks beautiful. That's a nice looking barrel. Looks like a couple of my road wheels have fallen off, but here's the tracks and the road wheels. And finally the detail parts. This, when I had my old World of Tanks account and I got up to level 10, this is the tank destroyer I played with, and it was a lot of fun. These really cool details on here. Your headlights and just a bunch of other, oh wow. There's some wooden board there that's really got good wood grain in it. Yeah, wow, this is pretty impressive. Of course, 3D printing usually is impressive. Pioneer tools in here that I'll have to get out. And the cupola just popped right out while I was handling it, but again, it looks great. Really well done. And that's it. That's all the parts. So you can see there's not a lot to it, but it is 3D printed resin, so there's going to be a little bit of work to get this thing all together. We'll see how that goes, and follow me for the build. This ought to be a lot of
fun. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is the turret. And as I get the bottom part and kind of match it up to the top part, it doesn't fit. So I'm going to have to do some trimming, and as you can see, the areas that I just took my Dremel tool, marked it off with a black pen, and I finally got it to fit. Everything seemed to line up okay. Barrel goes on very nicely. The commander's cupola goes on very nicely. You can see most of the hatches are already there. Very few at this point. There's like what, 6-7 pieces is all to it. So I want to put some texture on it because it doesn't come with any texture other than the 3D printed texture. I'm going to use some of this Squadron gray putty thinned out with Mr. Color Thinner, and as you can see, using a brush to put it on, it turns out just fine. I think it's going to look really good as far as the texture goes. I want to make sure and get it on all the cast areas, but not the areas that were pressed steel or just sheet metal. Here on the hull, for example, I need to put some here. And even though I'm not going to see the bottom, I went ahead and put it on the bottom. By the way, you'll notice that 2 of the torsion arms are from an M46 kit because, well, my puppy broke them off and I don't know where they are. So here you can see I've got the engine, part of the engine deck in, the lights are on. I've went ahead and primed this whole thing with Mr. Primer Surfacer 1000, and it works really good on this 3D printed resin. Now on the tracks, there's a part that's a little bit fragile, came off, which I think will be fine. You can see I went ahead and painted the bogey separate, and then I just painted the tracks black and the connectors with a gunmetal color from Tamiya, and they, I think, turned out just fine. As far as the wheels go, I had a picture of them and I guess I didn't save it. I just went ahead and sprayed them with the olive drab, and then did the rubber wheel or tire part on them. I went ahead and sprayed the whole thing with Tamiya olive drab. I put a couple of drops of Future in it to spray those areas where I'm going to be doing the decals. You can see the shinier parts here on the turret. And I went ahead and used a brass rod for an antenna. For the periscopes, I like to use flat beret green, which is 1171 from Testers, and I usually put a drop of Future over that to give it that kind of a glass appearance, and it turned out pretty good, I think. Now, it did come with some kind of a tarp for the back that was 3D printed. I didn't necessarily like it, and I have a bunch of these, so I went ahead and put this tarp on here. There's supposed to be a different shovel with it. Somehow I've dropped it and lost it, so I used this one out of my spare parts box. Hopefully I can find it. And the headlights, I just went ahead and did some silver for the headlights for now. I can come back later and do some clear over it. I used the decals from an M48 kit that I've got and went ahead and put those on, and then I put a dull coat lacquer from Testers over the whole thing, and then went ahead and reapplied my my Future over the periscopes. You'll notice on the tail lights I did the upper portion with red. I do need to go back and tone that down just a little bit. All I've really done here is I've given the panel lines a wash, the wheels a wash, and then a dry brush of some desert yellow mixed in with my olive drab, and then hit the highlights so you can see where I've done all of that. But the texture, I like how that turned out with the squadron putty, and overall I think it's a pretty nice looking little tank. In 1954, a conference on future heavy tanks was held in Detroit. Alongside other advanced projects, the Chrysler Corporation suggested a new tank on the basis of the TS-31 project. The main goal was to make the tank fit the Bern National Tunnel. Several variants were considered, but the project was canceled. And this is the tank destroyer variant of that project. So anyway, great addition to my collection. It builds pretty easy. There's a couple of issues with the tracks. Really, the rear sprocket needs to be moved forward about a 1/16 of an inch, and everything will fit really nice. Otherwise, there's a little bit of pull on the track. But the fit is actually pretty good, so I would definitely recommend this company and this project for anybody else. So thanks for joining us today, folks. I hope you got something out of this.